Hi. Hope everyone's had a lovely Christmas, and I just wanted to jump on today because I just wanted to give you a little message about breaking the cycle, because it's really normal at this time of year, after being so disciplined and focusing on sort of sticking to a particular way of eating. It's very easy to sort of flip into this guilt mode when you've ate more than normal, or you might have a real fear of just undoing all your progress in just a few days. Okay, so this is a perfect time of year for us to actually do something that is going to be useful to us for the rest of our lives, and that is breaking the cycle of this way of thinking and this way of eating, because we've probably been doing it for years and years and years. Before I talk about that, I just want to tell you a little bit of the facts of what's actually happens to your body when you eat more than normal. Okay, so one, we've got more food than normal in our digestive tract, so that weighs more. We've also probably eaten more carbs than normal, so that gets stored in our muscles, and for every extra gram of carbohydrates that we store, we also store 3 grams of water. Okay, then if we've been drinking alcohol or a bit more alcohol than normal, we're probably a bit dehydrated. And you may well find that you've not even been drinking as much just water or teas than you normally would do. So you could be a little bit dehydrated. And what your body does when you're dehydrated and you're not taking on enough liquids, it actually hangs on to water. So all of these things add up to more food and more water in your body, which is why you'll feel more bloated, you might feel heavier. You might be heavier, if you stepped on the scales, which I'm not necessarily recommending that you do. And the first step of breaking that cycle is knowing the facts about what's happening. It's what's called a temporary weight gain. Temporary, okay? And it will just resolve itself within a few days. You just can not worry about it. You're not undoing your progress. So that was something that I wanted to put out there today. But the second step of breaking the cycle is also putting that extra eating and drinking in context, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's a few days, a week, 2 weeks at the most. But this is a really special few days, okay? Because it's the time where everything stops, everyone's off at the same time, and we get to spend time with the most important people in our lives and celebrate with them, or relax with them, or just spend time. And creating a healthy relationship with food and eating 100% supports the idea that we can have these breaks, that we can enjoy Christmas without guilt, okay? It's normal, healthy, and actually important behaviour. And if you think about it like this, times like these are what makes the sort of mundane rest of the year bearable. We have to have that balance from all the weeks of the hard slog and the walks and the work, I should say, and the repetition. It's all worthwhile because we have weeks like this where we stop, we change the pace, we have different things, the routine's different. We've got to be able to do it. So this is really important that we're able to be like this for Christmases, for holidays, for birthdays, for special occasions. We've got to learn to be comfortable with being in this mode, okay? So that's really important. Now, the third step for breaking the cycle. So if the first one is knowing the facts about what's happening in your body and losing the fear that you're undoing your progress, the second step is putting this period of the extra eating and drinking into context. The third step, okay, of breaking this cycle is about tuning into how your body feels, okay? Normally, when we don't break the cycle, we're tuning into what our mind's saying, that little nonsense voice in our head that's telling you, arguing with you about what you've eaten or what you shouldn't have eaten, or whether you should finish something off, or whether you've undone all that nonsense that's just there all the time. And what we want to, that's where guilt lives. So we might hear that, but we want to choose to ignore it and just say, all right, that's that little guilt voice that I'm trying to get rid of, and just that's all we have to do. But instead of noticing what's going on in our mad minds, we want to start to think about how our bodies are feeling and what we're feeling like here, okay, below the neck. And just pay attention to how you feel, because what we want to do is we want to let that guide us about what we need, what to do next, okay? which I'll explain in a bit more. So as we come out of Christmas, we might notice that we're not enjoying certain things as much as we did a couple of days ago. My first coffee with brandy cream in is amazing. by the time I'm on like day 4 or 5, it's not it doesn't quite have the same effect. But that's true. You know, pay attention to how we may feel like, oh, we've had that now. We don't really feel like we're enjoying it as much anymore, or we're just going through the motions. And you know, as well as that, we might start to pay attention to how we feel in our body, you know, and what are those feelings telling us, you know, what does it need now? You know, do we need a longer break in between eating? Do we need more nutritious foods? Do we need an early night? Do we need a day lying down in front of the TV with a gallon of tea rather than sat there drinking wine? You know, do we need to go and get some fresh air, have a brisk walk? Do we just need to drink more water, eat more vegetables? And being guided by how you feel and what your body is telling you it needs is a massive part of how you break that cycle. And it's also a really big shift to make, because we're tuning into sort of the wisdom of us having real instincts and real knowledge about what we need to feel well, and getting rid of the sort of madness in our brains that's not logical, that's just greedy, or that's just interested in what it can have now. Whereas the wisdom that we have is about tuning into our body and knowing what we need to feel great, because that's what we want. That's the goal, isn't it? We want to be able to feel great. And you know, one of the things you know, we need, when we notice our body, we can recognize that we need different things on different days. You know, for Christmas, we might need, the right thing might be that massive celebratory meal. 2 days later, we might need something else. We might need a few days of just sort of stuff that's a little bit more simple, because we might just be ramping it up again in a couple more days' time for New Year and going back onto sort of feasting mode. So what we're going to need on a day-by-day basis is going to change. So just paying attention to what that is and being guided about your, you know, by your body, listening to it. You know, let your knowledge and your instincts about what makes you feel best come out, and don't just have them in your head. Turn them into actions. Okay, so you know, I think hopefully this is useful information, puts things into context, gives you permission to not feel guilty. And you know, I think this can be an interesting thing to reflect on, even journal about, if that's something that you like to do. I know I found that really, really helpful. But then the final thing that I just want to leave you with really is, it's about also being able to allowing ourselves to just slow down, you know, really notice and enjoy as many details about Christmas as we can, because that's how we make this lovely time of year last as long as possible. And for it to then be something where it's just transforms how we feel in January, because we've really had a lovely time, we've really taken care of ourselves, we've really allowed ourselves to rest and restore, which is just really important. And that's what we want to be focusing on for the next few days or the next couple of weeks, depending on how long you're off. So with that in mind, it's completely optional for you to check in this weekend. Okay, you can if you want. I'll be doing them on Monday as normal. But if you choose to do it, then I want you to reflect on what I've said here as you fill it in, because it is part of the work we're doing to try and break this cycle between this guilt, this idea of, you know, dieting and having to then go into some really awful period in January where we have to compensate or make ourselves pay for what we've had now, you know. Because as we move out of Christmas, we want to just resist that temptation to think about dieting, you know. Our theme for January is going to be about breaking the cycle, restoring that balance, and prioritising nutrition by tuning into how we feel here to make ourselves feel good, to make our bodies, we know what we need to stay healthy, and that's what we want to do. So I'm going to tell you more about that next week. All I wanted to do now was just give you this, because it might just help with how you're feeling at the moment, or maybe take away any worries about what I might be expecting from you, because all I'm expecting from you is for you to have had the most wonderful Christmas. That's all I want for you. And I'm looking forward to working with you again next week and in the new year, but I'm going to leave it there for now, because we'll be speaking plenty soon. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.